Hello and welcome. We're doing X3 now, which chronologically makes sense based on where you should be at if you're watching everything in order. One thing we're doing for this one, though, is we kind of assembled together a definitive version for this style of our videos on this portion of the games. So what we're doing is we're doing the Super Nintendo gameplay.
And audio. And
all that. But then we spliced in at appropriate times all of the animated cutscenes from the Sega Saturn, PC, PlayStation versions.
X3 Anime is Real Edition.
Yeah. Basically, it's just all of the best parts from everything, since the audio and all the other ones are just bad.
Terrible.
Like, they're really actively bad. So, in my opinion, this would be a definitive cut, which I think is neat. Just as like something a little bit different, because I don't think any of the other games we're going to have to give this kind of treatment to.
No.
So this one is a fun little exception.
So we can't really hear it right now, but the X-Buster in this thing sounds like someone knocking over a bowling pin, and I love it.
I think I actually know what you're talking about sound-wise. I always really liked these animated cutscenes. For a while, before I realized anything, I found a database like way back, like early internet and everything. I didn't realize that this was from a game, so I thought like, oh my god, there's a fucking cartoon
I
for
would
the X
watch.
series. I know! It's like, son of a bitch! Like, when I found out that it was for one of the games, I was like, that's cool too, I guess, but...
Zero doesn't kill well at all.
Yeah, this is a really weird abridging of events, because Zero doesn't do that, nor did he have a saber at that point. And also, he is not the one, like, he literally couldn't have stopped the X-Hunters, so we'll forgive it because it looks cool, and it's still, like, given X time to shine. This is actually also kind of an interesting milestone design-wise, as far as the animation goes, since it's the first thing that kind of shows X, like, actively changing his armors, which is something that actually gets visualized later on in the PlayStation games when you teleport in as, like, the fourth armor, or the Falcon armor, and stuff like that, so... It's a neat sort of running concept that actually starts here, more or less.
That's neat.
Yeah. It gives it a little bit more lore.
Those are weird-ass fingers.
Yeah, I don't really get Doppler's design.
Wait, are they supposed to be like gun fingers, or...?
I don't know. No idea. They must be for science. But yeah.
Now, as an immediate change of pace, here's this.
So, like I said, this is the only part that had any kind of complicated splicing in to do, since the animated bit, from what we were seeing, actually just outright replaces this bit in the Saturn version.
So in the Saturn version, you don't get the plot explanation. You're just like, oh hey, anime, woo!
Yeah. This one, or X3 is also cool story-wise, because it's the one that starts to introduce the Sigma virus as a concept, as opposed to just like, it's Sigma leading a rebellion again. Which is kind of a direct transition from X2, back when we did that one.
Yeah.
That has the wireframe with no explanation. You're like, what the fuck is going on here? And in this one, it's actually explored as like, oh, okay, so Dr. Doppler is the one that found out that the Sigma virus is what's causing all these Maverick revolts, and he comes up with a vaccine for it that basically cures everything. And then after a couple months, everybody that he cured starts rebelling under his command. So it's a whole situation of like, oh, is there like a new leader? What the hell is going on? Did it just like mutate or something like that? And then it just goes into the normal like, it's another Maverick attack plotline.
Oh darn.
Yeah. What I think is kind of cool about this one is it's also the first one to kind of show any kind of home base related stuff, which does also come in later on, usually in cutscenes, with some exceptions. But this one, the intro stage that we're going to be seeing in a second is actually, like, X and Zero are dispatched out to the area around Doppler's laboratory, you know, that whole region, to take care of things, and then an attack gets directed on the Maverick Hunter headquarters, so they actually go back, and the intro stage is them, like, clearing everybody out of their home base in the area, which is kind of neat, just, like, it's a level, so whatever, but, like, it's the first time there's any kind of lore base directly into a stage like that, which I think is cool. It's almost like an extension of what they do with Magna Centipede's level in X2, where it's like plot significant, but it's not really a location, it just shows up a bunch of times. This is the first one where it's like, oh, here's where you're at. It's actually important to what's going on.
Is that supposed to be the same city from the first game?
I don't think it is.
Because, like, that shot of the overpass looks a lot like the first screen the next one.
You'd think that. From what I can tell, it's a completely different area. based on just like the geography of the map when you're selecting stages versus the one in map view for X1. But it's kind of neat to see the consistent architecture, which I mean is obviously just like same art designers and stuff.
Just reuse assets. Woo!
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at them side by side, they are actually different. But yeah, so Jesus, we have just all of that. Good times.
5 minutes before we even get to gameplay. Holy shit!
This is where it gets intense. But yeah, so. More cutscene shenanigans. We get to see the spy copters doing some cool shit. I know that these are really dated and some of the characters are a little off model, but I really genuinely like this stuff.
X was looking a little funky in that last one.
Yeah, a little bit. We kind of have... I think... Did you do like an audio crossfade there?
Yeah, I did an audio crossfade. Like, in the Saturn version, like, it goes from that cutscene to right about here, but it's not actually in-engine right here in the Saturn version. It's, like, recorded off of VCR. Yeah,
it's like this weird sort of crossfade sort of effect where it's like, this is drawn and then, oh, it's sprites! And it's like, that's really cool for the time, but looking at it now, especially from like an HD screen, it's like, oh, okay, let's not deal with that. But I do think it's cool that they actually did something like that back then.
I want fucking vehicle boarding in-game.
That would be really rad.
So,
I mean, you kind of do that with ride armors.
Kind of, but like...
Not the same way, I know what you're talking about. But yeah, and the PlayStation version and the Saturn version, just as a side note, since we're talking about the cutscenes and stuff, came after the Super Nintendo one. So this is the original now, and then they kind of built on it later. So you were about to say.
I just want X games to be like a 2D Halo.
God. Alright, so here we have Mac, everybody's favorite turncoat, with all of the character development of like 8 text boxes.
Gosh, what is that design supposed to...
He's actually got a pretty cool design, if you look at him.
He looks very top-heavy in that sprite.
He's got just big shoulders, basically.
Oh, yeah.
I think he looks kind of cool.
Oh, by X.
But yeah, so X gets kidnapped, and then we have our very first playable Zero scenario.
Zero, what were you doing in the ceiling?
Don't even worry about it. Zero does what Zero wants. But yeah, so this introduces a whole bunch of important stuff that comes up later on in the series, but you won't be seeing much of in my playthrough since everything is X-centric. But it introduces Zero's triple attack and like the sword usage and like how he kind of combos into things with the whole long charge. Personally, I really like this style over the straight-up sword usage that he gets later on, but the sword usage that he gets is more in tune to like making him a more unique character to play as full-time.
So, I discovered something while playing through this segment. If you die at Zero in this segment, it's an immediate game over.
That doesn't really surprise me at all. But yeah, so you can basically just completely screw Mac there as long as you land the sword swing. It kind of cements it as like this sword is pretty much the ultimate weapon in this game, which you'll see more of.
By Mac.
Yep, Mac is gone. He's not even going to come back in like a refight stage. He's
no
not
one's going to mention him again.
Yup, it's just like, you'd think like, oh man, like another kind of vial stand, and this'll be neat, and then it's like, nope. So, yeah, this separation that they're doing right now actually makes sense, as opposed to the other ones where it's like, okay, I'm going to go scout ahead, go do all the stuff. It's like, nope, this is like, our base is under attack, we need to split up and clear everything out, so I'm a little bit more forgiving.
So, in that last segment, there was, like, Zero's theme music was playing. Does that always play when you're playing this game, or is that only in the intro?
I legitimately do not know, because I only ever use Zero for the thing that gets you 102 completion, or 102%. So, which I will be doing in this. It's actually the easiest game, in my opinion, to bonus complete, like above 100% completion rate. So, it really won't be any trouble. And honestly, it makes the rest of the game really easy, especially compared to, like, you need full health to use the Hadoken or Dragon Punch or any of those kind of capsules. This one is just straight up like, you're just, like, unstoppable now. Have fun.
Great!
Zero, you're not quite standing on a full platform right there.
Nah, it's cool. He's got really good core work.
That makes sense. So yeah, he's basically going back and doing the bureaucratic stuff of like, okay, let's do like a body count here, what happened, and X is going to go off and do stuff.
Just picturing Zero running around with like a calculator. I don't fucking know. Like, I had a joke. I can't remember the name of the thing. Like, abacus. That's it. Zero running around with an abacus.
Great. So we get to start off with, I don't know if I'd call it infamous cutscene, but this one I think is the only one out of any of these animated ones. I know. I love this intro for him. Pay close attention to the spelling of his name, though, in this important pre-rendered. Bilzard Buffalo.
I love you, Bilzard Buffalo.
I'm assuming that has something to do with the fact that apparently they started doing out-of-house stuff, especially for the Saturn versions and stuff like that. All of the core design was still Inafune and his team at Capcom, but from what I'm reading in the book, it sounds like they started... I don't really want to use the word outsourcing, because I don't know if that'd be correct, but like it was more of an extended thing. And at this point, Inafune was definitely like the producer role, since this is the one where they started making like the snap-together model kits and like a lot of different merchandise. It's like, okay, this is very clearly a successful thing. Let's go full bore on it. Which is probably why X3 got so many ports. Don't know. I saw it too. I have no idea.
So how were the ice physics in this level?
Kind of balls. Not a big fan. It doesn't bother me that you slide around on him. That's kind of fine. But, like, if I try to jump back up that, I will maintain all of my downward momentum. So, like, I can't, dash back up slowly, which I guess in a way is kind of more realistic. But, like, even with the air dash that I'm about to get later on in this level, like, you just can't navigate that way. It's like, once the game says, you are sliding down this slope, you are sliding down that slope, and there's, like, nothing you can do about it.
It's nice to see that the game still has decent-looking backgrounds. Like, that's still carrying over.
So, X3 is a good sort of mixed bag, in my opinion, because it's got some of the most mechanically sound systems going on, like the armor upgrades and like all of the supplementary stuff. So like, right armors and things like that are really, really cool in this one. You get like one of the strongest feeling X's, especially for this early in the series. You can swap into Zero if you want, which works out pretty well because you can only use him for like the one mission or if he dies or whatever. So it actually like adjusts the ending that way. You want to use him at a certain time for that 102 that I was talking about. The upgrade placement is all really good, but the levels are kind of boring overall, in my opinion.
And the music.
And yeah,
like
some of the music...
Dr. Light music, for instance.
Yeah, is just like not as good. So they nailed a lot of the system stuff, but didn't quite get like the soul down as much, in my opinion. It's still a really good one. Like, I love X3, I really do. It's just, if you're comparing everything back and forth just based on like what the strengths and weaknesses are as a whole, I think this one falls a little bit shorter than 1 and 2 do.
Yeah, this one is definitely the worst on the SNES, but
still really good.
Yeah, like the bar is really fucking high at this point.
Exactly.
So it's, like, it's cool, but
it's an instance of it's not the best one. It's still good, or it's the worst. It's not bad. It's just the worst. That sort of thing. Which, it's fine. That's bound to happen.
Though the overall quality level starts to sharply drop off after this point.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I'll talk about specifically. And this roundabout route is to get some good early sub-tank just in case you need it, which I shouldn't for the most part, but it's good to know. I also get to show off a strategy that I only recently learned for Bilzard. In the next...
I wish you could drive those ride armors. Or not ride chasers. Yeah.
It'd be nice.
Snow chasers.
Yeah, this one forgoes the ride chaser. It's not in this one, but that's because of the ride armor system in this one, which I desperately wish would come back the way that they do it in this. It's really, really cool, which... I don't know if there's a good point in this footage where I can go over it. I'm sure... Yeah, I know I'll see the ride armors at some point, so we'll just go over it then. But yeah, so basically what I'm doing here is if you time it right, and it's not really a hard window to deal with, you can just get him to turn around, because it's like, oh, X is in the air, that means he's going over me, I'd better turn around. The drawback to that, in my opinion, is you're not hitting him with charge shots, so the fight is both easier and quicker, and then also kind of slower in a way at the same time. So I get hit a couple times by heavier attacks. I think I do end up using a sub-tank just because I was getting greedy and trying to hit him with stronger attacks. Yeah, that's exactly it. And if you're close by him when it's happening, which I don't think you need to be that close, so maybe I'm just botching. This is the first time I've ever fought him this way. You probably have more time to react. But, like, I prefer hitting things with charge shots, so it does work.
Is that the first time that there was actually a parallax background in a boss fight? I
don't think Flame Mammoths had it.
No, his was just a solid background.
Yeah, then it might be, as far as I'm aware. Oh, no, I'm almost positive Overdrive Ostrich has one.
Oh, yeah. He would have one. Never mind.
Yeah. So there is our colossally long first episode of X3. This is where episode length is going to start to pick up, is with this one onward.
No, with this specific episode, it's mostly due to like the double
cutscenes and everything. So it'll be better. Not that it's bad, but you know.